Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I do agree with the gentleman that it is difficult to project what our sea power needs would be out 2 decades down the road or even a decade out of the road, but we must try. And that's why you will see a bipartisan opposition to his amendment, because one thing about each of the individuals that spoke in opposition to his amendment is I sit side by side with them in classified and non-classified hearings as we try to make that projections, because under the Constitution we have to raise armies and we have to maintain navies, and to create the carriers that we would need would take 6 to 9 years. We don't have that option when we need them. Had we not stepped in as a Congress, we would never have had a carrier with a strike capability, because the Pentagon actually wanted them for ISR capabilities. Had Congress not stepped in, we wouldn't have had Tomahawk missiles, because the Pentagon actually was not going to try to produce them. Without Congress stepping in, we would not have had jointness. And the reason we have to step in for this number of carriers is because, as you've heard mentioned, if we don't have these carriers, we will automatically go from 7 months deployment for our sailors on these carriers to as many as 9 months or 10 months, an extra 2 to 3 months. Ask those families what an imposition that is. The second thing, Mr. Chairman, if we don't have them, we will have gaps in the national defense of this country. And as my friend Mr. Courtney mentioned, just recently we had a carrier out there for 54 days fighting ISIL when we had no other capabilities of doing that. Had we not had that carrier, we would have had difficulties as a country. Third thing is, by not having these carriers, we run our other carriers harder, faster, burn them out more. So essentially we're consuming the next generation's national defense. And the final thing is this, Mr. Chairman. If you look just a few years ago, our commanders around the globe, we were able to meet 90% of the requirements they needed for the United States Navy. This year, we will only meet 44 of those requirements, 44%. If we allow this amendment, there will be a commander somewhere who won't have that carrier group when they need it. I hope we'll defeat this amendment. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman.